This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. It's a little bit of deja vu. Boo. That's the word, isn't it, ladies and gents? Like Ipswich. 2-0, clean sheet. Not quite the same, but a lot to like in the same way. Transfers, we will talk about those as well, whether they happen or not. And here to join me as ever on a pretty dismal Monday morning like it was yesterday at Anfield is David Lynch. David, how are we?
Yep, good. Still on a little winning run of 2 games, so happy about that. So, lots of good stuff to get into. So, yeah, exciting.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, so much to like about this Brentford game. And I'm sure you've seen it, folks. Obviously, Luis Diaz tucks one away. Mo Salah gets his customary goal at Anfield as well. And we could rattle through this all day. There were so many positives, David. What were your sort of overall thoughts on the performance?
Yeah, just very, very good again. You sent me a message after the game and said lots to like, and I just think that sums it up perfectly, really. It was just overwhelming amount of positives, really, in there. I think, I was kind of worried coming into this game about the fact that, Brentford are just Brentford, aren't they? Will Arne Slot have come up against anything kind of like that? Are there many teams in the Eredivisie who've just packed with, 7 or 8 lads who are 6'5", and then 2 unbelievably quick, high quality forwards that they've got in Wissa and in Mbeumo? I very much doubt it. And yet Liverpool just seemed to be absolutely prepared for what sort of game they were going to get. Really good on the physical side of the game. And as usual, give themselves a platform then to play from there. And some of the football they did play, second half in particular, which, mirrors the Ipswich game in that sense. But yeah, some of the football they played in that, absolutely phenomenal. And again, running out deserved 2-0 winners, a clean sheet, which is always a bonus. And we're just already seeing that style being imprinted on this team. And obviously, Arne Slot was at pains, wasn't he, after to sort of make the point that he's inherited a good situation from Jurgen, and that is absolutely true. But he's already built on that, and we're already seeing signs of him putting his mark on the team. And I think that's hugely encouraging, given how short a time it is, and given the fact that, Erik Ten Hag is maybe 2 seasons into his time at Manchester United, and his team is absolutely shambolic at times. So the idea he's been able to come up with a really clear sort of philosophy and put it on the team is just brilliant and very, very exciting for what's to come this season.
It is strange. And I heard someone say at Anfield yesterday, slot ball, you can already see what his ideas are. You can already see within 2 games what a Liverpool goal is type of thing, or what he's looking to do in the attack. So that there's so much, there really is so many positives here. This is a tough one because there's probably a few candidates for this. I know it was the official one, but man of the match for you?
I went with Konate. I thought it was probably between him and Luis Diaz, but I just really like Konate's performance. And again, I think in games like this, yeah, I'm probably being harsh on Luis Diaz. I mean, he wins the game for Liverpool, doesn't he? But I think in a game like this, you know, like I say, it's all about providing the platform and not being cowed. And Brentford's biggest threats were going to be set-piece opportunities and springing in behind on the counter. And I just thought the way that Konate dealt with that, particularly having not sort of started the season in the team, you know, you think he comes on at half-time at Ipswich, but he was just magnificent again and really gave Liverpool that platform and won every header. And I think he uses the header that wins the header that starts the counter-attack as well, which sort of, you know, sums up his contribution really. And also kind of, you know, you talk about the fact that his weakness in comparison to Quansah, or his perceived weakness in comparison is in possession. He was very good there as well. Put in some really uncomfortable situations, but looked very calm. I think he ends up with about a 96% passing accuracy, so perfect. But played some kind of risky ones as well. So really, really good from him. And you know, looks at the moment like the shirt's his now, because you know that's how it's going to be. And you know, he's nabbed it off Quansah pretty quickly. So yeah, I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, sensei. Just almost whenever he was on those sort of tackles, you know, where he's coming from the sideline, either the ball or the man is not going to pass, and usually in the good way, where it was both yesterday, realistically.
I think what's good about it as well is you kind of forget towards the back end of last season that his form had really dipped, and Quansah was in there deservedly. I mean that was not just because Konate had, you know, gone through a little bit of a dip. I think you have to say Quansah was phenomenal back in the last season, and he will be this season for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But Konate definitely had a dip, and he looked shaky when he came in. Whereas now he looks absolutely back to his best, which is hugely encouraging, because I think, you know, there's been points when he's been at Liverpool that he's been the second best centre-half in the Premier League, just behind Virgil. And I think if you can get back to there and the signs look really good, then Liverpool have got, you know, wealth of unbelievable options in that position.
And you're right, because even that one where Brentford cross it in the first half and he flicks it away at the back post, where you think the forward's going to come in and head it home, blocks. But even on the ball, he was really good, which people were maybe nervous about. There was some good passing. And also, and I wouldn't have thought he necessarily had it in his locker, he's happy to invite that press baiting, isn't he, almost at times, like we see with Quansah. That's different to what we've normally seen from him. But we probably, if we're honest, associate that more from Quansah, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's it. Like those little sort of, like you say, kind of dragging someone in and a little cute one around the corner, just sort of a little bit of curl on it. And that's either into, if Trent had moved inside, then maybe he'd go down the line to Salah, or, you know, it was a really important way of Liverpool getting up the pitch, actually. And Konate played a big role in that. So, again, you know, if he can, I think sometimes his possession issues were kind of over-egged a little bit, to be fair. I think there's been times when he's been in the team and he's looked really, really good on the ball. So, I think there is more to come from him in that facet, and I think that, you know, working with a coach like Slot, who's going to put pressure on him to improve in that way, that can be really, really good for him, because that will just completely round out his game, because everything else he does at an unbelievably high level. He's an absolutely fantastic defender.
Yeah, he was absolutely immense yesterday, and like you said, probably the other person in the conversation yesterday, Luis Diaz. I mean, a goal and an assist. Last week was encouraging, but there almost felt yesterday more of an element of control, if that was the right phrase, even in the finish. But everything he's almost doing, even yesterday, since the start of the season, it's looking good for Luis Diaz, isn't it?
Yeah, again, he's another one I think people forget how good a footballer he is.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. You know, the one criticism you would have of him, and I think it's a fair criticism, is that end product. But everything else he does at an extremely high level. And then we saw yesterday, when you add in the end product, then, you know, he's up there with the top wingers in the Premier League. So, you know, that's a good start, isn't it? Getting an assist and a goal. And I love the goal, because I think one-on-one, that's been a weakness for him, not been very convincing in those positions, and also on his wrong side as well. You know, again, that's sort of an area you'd say he was particularly strong in, and he just blasts it into the top corner. Very sort of Sadio Mane-like, which again, you know, that's the level he needs to sort of aspire to. And I just absolutely love that finish, and everything else about his game after that is everything that you come to love anyway. So, and then adding an assist on top of that, absolutely brilliant. If, like I said, I think I've said this before on this podcast, actually, if Slot can squeeze 5 or 6 extra goals out of him this season, his end product starts to look very, very good, and Liverpool have got an excellent winger there. So, it doesn't look like the Anthony Gordon thing is going to go anywhere from this point onwards. So if it's going to be Luis Diaz and Gakpo maybe on that side, 2 very good options. And Diaz, if he just does add that end product and he consistently can do that, and that's something the manager can work with him on, which we hope it is, then he's going to be very, very important this season. Yeah, no doubt. And you're probably right, because you think back to almost what you look at, and everyone will go back to Sadio Mane for obvious reasons, but it did feel like that almost Jota Diaz yesterday was like watching an old Salah Mane interchange. When the ball's played through, Mane sweeps onto it. And I always think back to last season, because Diaz against City, there was that moment, wasn't he, when he got away from Kyle Walker, and the first touch wasn't great and the second touch wasn't great, and he kind of just half curls it, blams it into the Anfield Road. It was just controlled yesterday, on top of the dribbles. And also, you could see where I was in the main stand, he won a lot of defensive duels as well. He was really helping back almost, Robertson at times, and even when McAllister was getting isolated, all that. He's actually becoming, to be fair, as like you say, people must forget, as though he's a good footballer, funnily enough, but he's almost becoming an important player in this team right now, isn't he? Yeah, but I mean, the stuff on the defensive side, I mean, he's always been high duels, involvement across games. That's always been sort of a statistical thing about him, and always sort of won a high percentage generally if he's playing well. So I think that you're always guaranteed to get that he'll work back, and he graphs. And maybe sometimes you're worried that came at the expense of, a bit of coolness of mind when he got into positions, or a little bit of fatigue or whatever. But he didn't show any of that yesterday. So again, if you could just get that combination right, if you can keep that go. I love the ball from Jota as well, by the way. One of the things Arne Slot talks about a lot when he's talking about, what they do in attacking positions is timing. And the timing of that ball could not have been better. It left that defence for dead. Put it on a plate for him, and then, as you say, 2 great touches, and then a brilliant finish as well. Just absolutely perfect. So hopefully more of that to come from Diaz, because he can be, he'd be so potent if he just adds 5 or 6 more goals.
Yeah, no doubt. So the starting forwards at the moment are looking immense. Like you say, Jota just looks perfect in that middle, so intelligent with the pass. And we shouldn't really leave out the other man, should we? The main man, Mo Salah, a goal, a brilliant finish. And there was that one move yesterday where he almost did the 4-man interchange, where he kept playing it going, and obviously he went around the corner and the Brentford man and if that had gone in, you might as well just close goal of the season after 2 games, essentially, in that regard. He was so good at points. He's looking every bit the original Mo Salah at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of telling as well that he stays on till so late as well. Obviously, fitness-wise, he's kind of ahead of everyone else and in really, really good shape, which is what you expect from him. But, to keep doing it season after season, he's just a phenomenon, isn't he? And, yeah, he really seems to be kind of enjoying this football as well. Obviously, he's still got his defensive work to do, but I think it's, some of the forward play can be a little bit more intricate at times, which, the fact is he's probably not quite as quick as he used to be. Yeah. So the fact if he's using his footballing skills a little bit more than his pace, that probably suits him a little bit more. This sort of slightly more patient approach. I know obviously the opening goal was a counter attack, but I mean generally speaking, you get moments like that where he can just open sides up with his weight of pass and his vision that is almost an underrated element of how good he is. So he really, really looks like he's enjoying it. I think he's in for another big season. I mean, it's just a no-brainer that he's going to be top scorer this season again if he stays fit, because he's just phenomenal. So, yeah, really, really like what I see from him, and he seems to be liking it as well.
Yeah, he does look, whether it's a new aerodynamic haircut or whatever, he does look the business at the moment. And, I mean, a player, and I know you'll have seen this and seen all the stories and people's takes on it, Trent Alexander-Arnold is again sensational. I mean, per 90 minutes now has the most chances created in the Premier League as a right back. And probably maybe shouldn't criticise him, but for Diogo Jota's heading or finishing it, probably should have had 2 assists already by now. Been brilliant. And yet all the stories about the sub, the reaction, the body language. What are you making of all that?
Yeah, it's one of those, really. I mean, it'd be easy to go down the route of going, oh, well, he's competitive and he's not going to like being subbed off. And that's absolutely true. And I think it was just kind of a manifestation of that. But also, he is vice captain, grow up a little bit, don't be seen to be doing that, is my kind of take on it. I know that might be a little bit harsh. I just think you've got to know that the cameras are always on you. The fact to be read into, the fact that your contract situation will be thrown into it. And as I say, as vice captain, it's not great to be seen, being like that, a little bit moody. You've got to sort of park that competitive edge just for 5 minutes while you're on camera, and then you go in the dressing room and kick something if you like, put a hole in the wall or whatever. So a little bit kind of disappointing. I think that just creates a story. I mean, I would say it probably is a stretch, all this attempts to, he's not going to sign the contract now. I mean, it's just nonsense, really. You'll probably feel a little bit embarrassed about it today, and realise what's going on in terms of it's clearly Slot is just trying to protect him because he's so important. I mean, he went as far as to describe Conor Bradley as his backup yesterday. You're very rare you hear managers talk in those terms, but that's how clear Trent's place is in the team. It's not about competition. It's it's Trent and then Conor Bradley is his backup. So Slot clearly knows how important he is, and that's why he took him off. He wants to look after him. He needs him fit for the entire season. And also, Liverpool can't afford to be going through seasons having the injury crises that they do every year. Things have got to change, and the way that changes is maybe taking you off on 70 minutes in a game where you probably could have gotten a goal or an assist in that last 20 minutes as Brentford tired. So what? I think everybody else would rather, and he would rather, if you asked him, win the league and not get a load of injuries that will derail that attempt to do that. So, I think, you've got to go with this and hopefully don't see that again. Because like I say, as vice captain, that's not kind of becoming, and you don't really want to see that going forward. So it shouldn't get blown up too much, but I also do think you can't completely shy away from that it was a negative and isn't something we want to see going forward.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
No, I think that's completely fair. I'd forgot. Yeah, he is the vice captain. We also talk about Trent sometimes as a young player, but he is 25 now. He should be coming into the prime. He's got all the experience at the top levels. There is expectations the way. It's almost a shame we're talking about this because he was absolutely brilliant. And I suppose I did want to focus.
That's it, exactly. It's a shame, and he kind of caused it. So you've got to that point kind of needs to be made to him, is that you brought a kind of negative vibe to another good win for Liverpool, and this head of steam that they're building up into the Manchester United game. Is kind of been dampened a little bit. So that's almost why you need to be reminded. Just don't do that, mate. There's no real need for that.
Yeah, and hopefully it just becomes one of those non-stories. I mean, someone put a good tweet out today. They said everyone remembers when Mane and Salah had that row at Burnley and Bobby gave it the eyes in the tunnel, and then they won 8 in a row from there. So hopefully it's just one of those. But yeah, will be interesting what happens there. And I saw your pod that you put out. It's interesting for me, and because I thought it was well phrased. You described Brentford as almost a different test and slots past an important test, because they are quite unique in the way they very much use data, the style they play. And I almost was going to say this because it'd be lazy just to say, it almost makes me think of a little bit of Bolton, but they're far more sophisticated the way they do it back in the day, and they play percentages and the style of football and the ability of their footballers. This was a good tick in the box from what we see now for our slot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just different things, like Aya being at left back and being like, is he 6'4" or something like that, and his ability that kind of caught Liverpool out early. As he's just driving through the middle of the pitch, and they were like, "Well, what do we do with him? He's massive," and kind of struggling up against that. And then obviously they just got a set piece threat. It's just absolutely outrageous, and really, really well coached in set pieces as well. They got some good routines, and I thought Liverpool just dealt with that fantastically well. I think Aaron Briggs was up out of his seat constantly every time Brentford had a set piece, and he was arranging and making sure everybody was in the right place. So obviously attention to detail in terms of preparing for that threat was absolutely there. And I think, in terms of why I liked it about Slot as well, is you just think about some of the defeats that Jurgen had early in his reign against sides that were just there to do kind of the things that Brentford do. And he's kind of like, whoa, hang on, this team is massive. They're brilliant from set pieces. They've got unreal pace up front, like some of the fastest players in sort of world football, and but brilliant quality. Someone like Mbeumo and Wissa, I think they're really, really good players, and they didn't get a sniff yesterday. And again, it was just Liverpool seemed prepared for every little bit of threat they've got, which again, you give credit to all the coaches, by the way, and obviously the players as well, but for the manager to clearly have an idea that this is what they're going to do, it's going to be different to anything I've kind of faced in the Eredivisie. That's just hugely encouraging, because there's a lot of different styles of tests he's going to come up against in this league, and it's probably going to be even if he's seen similar things before, they're executing at a higher level. For example, the set pieces, they're probably more dangerous. They've got bigger players, and so it's all kind of, some of these things are new. And yet he seems to already have a good idea about it. And it goes back to the Ipswich game where he said at half-time, just came into players and said, look, if you don't win your duels, you got no chance. And so he understands that physicality underpins so much in this division. And I just think that's really, really good, because, new managers, even someone as good as Klopp, can get caught out by that. And yet he's come in and got a very, very good understanding of it straight away. So I think that's massive, and suggests that Liverpool could have a really good first season under him, and hopefully with very few of those kind of learning curves for him to come across.
Does seem at the moment there is a really solid foundation to build things on. And I mean, it's interesting because 2 games, 2 replicated results, 2-0, 2 clean sheets. I mean, it took us 12 games to get 2 clean sheets last season, so maybe that's a noticeable thing. And it's important not to get carried away. It's interesting. I even heard that when you're in the stadium, you probably heard it as well, a few moans and groans even later on that they weren't just going for a 4th or 3rd, but it's actually, but there's a control element there now, isn't there? Sometimes it can be good to have the handbrake on, can't it, at times?
That's a really good point, actually, about the moans and groans. It's clearly very much getting used to it, and it's similar for all of us, getting used to this Alan Slot style of football. There was a moment in the second half where I think Szoboszlai gets away, and he's kind of running at their back 4, and he's got I can't remember which forward it was on the kind of left-hand side of of the attack and in between centre half and fullback. And it was a pass that was kind of on to slide him in on goal, but it was a little bit higher than needle, and he just puts his foot on the ball, comes back, plays it wide instead of trying it. Now, 100% under Jurgen, that pass would have been fired in. He might have made it, might have been a goal, but it also might have just give up possession. And I think that is the difference, is that there is that additional patience, and there are groans off the back of it. But you think how sort of serene was that seeing out that game yesterday in comparison to what you've been used to under Jurgen. Again, I want to like roll back on some of the criticism of Jurgen around this sort of stuff, because ultimately I think his teams were most chaotic at the start of his reign and maybe at the end, and in the middle was absolutely one of the best football teams you will ever see in your life. So this is not a criticism of him generally as a manager. It's just the latter part of his reign. I thought that control that they used to have had kind of gone, and that's what Liverpool are kind of looking for now. And it's strange to see it back. And as you say, crowd is still having to get their heads around it. And there were a few kind of groans when Szoboszlai didn't play that pass. So that's something they've really got to think about. But that's how you get clean sheets. That's how you control games. That's how you make sure that the last 20 minutes aren't absolutely painful to watch. Even if you two up and you're thinking, we've got to get a third here because anything could happen. It's so open and end to end. And just on the clean sheets as well, I want to mention that they've kind of been making slow starts in both these games. Second half much better, particularly in terms of the XG they were generating Liverpool. But what I thought was notable about sort of Ipswich and this game was that they didn't give anything up. Still, like, the opposition XG was ridiculously low in both games in the first half. Even if they had like half moments where you thought there was a little bit of danger, Liverpool weren't giving up any high quality shots. I mean, I think first half it ended yesterday and it was 5 shots all, and yet Liverpool had generated 0.7 XG and they were obviously 1-0 up. I think Brentford, it was something like 0.15 from 5 shots. Yeah. So that to me suggests that Liverpool are just, even when they're not starting, they're not absolutely electric from the first whistle. They're in control. The attacking football might not be there, and Slot will want that to be better in first halves going forward. But equally, they're not giving up high quality chances, and that was a big issue under Klopp at the end. It was, they seem to concede first every week, and if you do that, you're not getting a clean sheet for starters, and you're making it harder to win games. And that is something that is absolutely changed. And again, this not firing passes through the eye of a needle is part of it, and something Liverpool fans are going to have to kind of get used to. But I'm sure they will if the team keeps winning, because that is the best sort of way of creating buy-in, is winning games, and it's certainly working so far.
Definitely, yeah. Clean sheets, goals, and I think it's fair to say, because you always wonder how players will adapt. It's easier to say maybe who's not, and no one's doing badly, that would be a wrong phrase, but there's so many positives, isn't there? Alisson, again, made a few great saves yesterday. Van Dijk, imperious. Konate, Robertson, a little better. Trent, immense. Even the midfield three, Gravenberch did well, to be fair to him, again as a 6. McAllister's almost playing an in-between role, but he's doing it well for the teams. Szoboszlai, and then the 3 forwards. There's so many to talk about who are doing well, aren't they, at the moment?
That's it. I think a good manager tends to do that, bring improvement out of everyone. And he keeps talking about, actually, that bringing improvement out of individual players is all about creating the conditions within the team. If you manage a collective improvement, then the individual improvement will come with it. And he's giving them all the conditions to succeed. So we're absolutely seeing that. As you say, nobody's playing poorly at the minute. They're all playing well. Everybody's doing the jobs and thriving. And that, to me, suggests a really good setup and a smart setup that's working for everyone. Obviously, he's inherited a fantastic squad. We know this. But he's making the most of it at the moment. And, long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing to complain about, really, when it's another home victory, another clean sheet, and 2 goals. And we'll turn to off the field, which tends to be more chaotic than on the field, really, for Liverpool, doesn't it, at the moment? So if we think of the actual news that we've had in the last week, it's mainly been about youngsters' exits, hasn't it? Sepp got confirmed to Brentford for 25 million. Bobby Clark got confirmed. Harvey Blair. All in all, for all the things that are talked about, it's going to sound harsh on these players, but it's not meant to be, because they're good young talents. I'm sure they'll thrive at their club. But it's good money overall for players who didn't play a single minute for Liverpool last season, isn't it, realistically?
Yeah, it's phenomenal business, really. I mean, again, you just have to think. I think people get annoyed about some of these sales. They're thinking, we're letting these good young players go. But you have to think is, even in 12 or 24 months' time, are any of these players going to be nailed on starters for Liverpool? The likelihood is not. Your academy, yes, you want to get players into the first team, and Liverpool are doing well for that. Konate and Bradley came through last season alone, and a first team absolutely nailed on first team squad members. You've got Trent in there already, Curtis as well, going to play a big role. So, Liverpool aren't short of getting academy players into the first team, but the reality is you're not going to get all of them. And Bobby Clark physically, is he going to be there at that level where he's going to knock the door down to be in Liverpool's midfield in the next 12 months? I would say no. So sell him when he's at his highest value, when he's had a really good season like he did last season. Seth Vandenberg wants to go, wants to play. Similarly, Fabio Carvalho wants to go, wants to play. Both of them probably fourth choice in the position that fourth or fifth choice even in the position that they want to play. So if you can make good money off that, you've done your job as an academy. You've given them the pathway. It's not quite made it to Liverpool's level at the moment, but they need to go on now and try and fulfill that potential elsewhere by playing regular minutes, and that's absolutely fine. And to get the money that they have for them, I think is a massive achievement. I mean, you can criticise Richard Hughes in terms of no incomings, absolutely, and I get that, and I think they should, rightly, there's some frustration around that. But in terms of outgoings, he played a blinder this summer. I mean, I think I said on this podcast in terms of when I was told the valuation of Sepp around 20 million. I said to you, I think that, look, that's probably a starting point in Liverpool around 15. And in the end, he got 25 million for him, which is just phenomenal work, really. A very sort of Michael Edwards-esque sale where you get more money than you thought you would, because they created a little bit of competition around, signing him, which is really, really nicely done and a great business on that front. And again, for a player who at the moment would have been fifth choice in the pecking order. So, really, really good business. And if you just take that separately to what's going on with the incomings, where, as I say, I think the criticism is justified or will be justified if the window ends as things stand. Then I really do think that is just, they've done a great job in terms of those sales, and that's more money in the coffers and players who now been given the opportunity to go and fulfill the potential elsewhere.
Yeah, no doubts about it. That's one side of the coin. We'll see how they do on the other. Still time for that one. We'll come to that as well. And probably an interesting one because Mamardashvili's been the one name and everyone's talked about future. What does that mean for Alisson? Alisson Becker comes out and does an interview with the Nationals, doesn't he? And, talks about how happy, I'm actually happy to see out this contract. I'm aware of Mamardashvili approach, which I think some people were naturally, you could understand a little bit head scratching them. Well, why are we signing this keeper if he's happy to do 3 years and possibly extend? What's going on there? What were your overall thoughts on the interview and what came out?
I thought it was good. I thought it was really encouraging that he's talking about doing more than just a year, and it's not just Liverpool getting ahead of that. I mean, I think with Mamardashvili, I think he will sense that, look, I'm still very young. Even if he had to do 2 or 3 years on loan, I can come back and I can be number one at Liverpool when he's 23 now. So in 3 years' time, even he'd be only 26, very, very young for a goalkeeper, and being guaranteed to come and be number one at a club like that. What an opportunity and one you probably have to jump at. So, and I think encouraging that Alisson still wants to stay, because I don't think, I don't think anyone would have wanted to see him go next year, even if you're bringing in a quality replacement. I think you'd hope to see more years out of him, and he still has a long time left on his contract. I mean, whether it'll get to him doing 3 years or whether he'll sign an extension, I don't know really. Whether he'll sense that the opportunity to earn great money out in Saudi is there in a couple of years' time, but suggest you can get at least 2 more seasons out of him, which for me, getting 2 more seasons of the best goalkeeper in the world, and maybe banking a fee for him in that third and final year of his contract, that would be absolutely happy days, really, wouldn't it? I think everyone would kind of shake hands on that now, and then you get your top-class replacement in as well, ready to come in. So, I think excited by that, and I think I like the idea as well that he was kind of involved in the process, and he mentioned Mamardashvili, and he's obviously watched him and thinks he's very good. That kind of speaks to how, there's good relations there, I'd say, between sporting director and player, and obviously on the agent side as well. So again, that speaks well, I think, of what the relationships that the sporting director Richard Hughes is building in this early stages as well.
Yeah, no doubts about it. So, yeah, 2 more years of Alisson, we'd all shake hands on that right now, no doubts at all. And the only other one I wanted to ask you about, because I know you were there, he's only done 2, but there is something striking about the way Arne Slot does press conferences. And I'm saying this for you as a collective, the way he speaks to journalists. Maybe James Pearce was challenged in the nicest way, wasn't he, on certain things as well this week? But it almost intrigues me the way that, as you know, when a question's asked in a press conference, he'll almost hyper-focus in on it, even correct the journalist if it's in the wrong tense or the word or what they're trying to get at. Have you found it interesting sort of being in his room? There's almost, I don't want to sort of jump to things, but there does seem to be almost an awe about the way he does things.
Yeah, he's very different, I'd say, to Jurgen. I think sometimes that can be positive in that he's kind of old business at times and he shuts things down. I think with the Joe Gomez one, when he was kind of having a little dig at James, is maybe a case of he's trying to distract from the story itself as well. I think he was maybe taking an opportunity to do that, which is very canny, you have to say, even if it was a probably needless 2-footer. But I think sometimes it can be negatives as well, I would say, in terms of doesn't always take the sort of the softball, and just hit it out of the park. Sometimes there are ones where he can just take an easy one and really sort of, I don't know whether it's build his relationship with fans through taking an easy answer or anything like that. Doesn't always take that option. Maybe a little bit too honest at times, but we'll see how that kind of plays out. But I've enjoyed the frankness at times, and I think that's going to continue, and he's going to be like that. And he's very different to Jurgen, maybe slightly less warm and a bit more forthright. So I think we're all kind of finding our way with that. He tried in the press conference after the match yesterday to say that he couldn't say anything about injuries because of privacy. I really hope he drops that one because we need those injury updates to the press conferences, to be honest. That's obviously not a rule here, so hopefully he learns about that one. But yeah, it's very, very different, and it's all part of, we're seeing a new style of football, aren't we? But we're also seeing a new style of addressing fans, addressing journalists, and just something for us all really to kind of get used to. And I'm sure that, the fact he is forthright, there's going to be some cracking quotes from him down the season. I've absolutely no doubts about that.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.